What does Prime Minister Narendra Modi really think about US pressure, threats of tariffs, and global sanctions? Well, his latest move sends a message louder than any official statement, because this time, PM Modi broke every diplomatic protocol in the book. Usually, when a world leader lands in India, the foreign secretary or a senior minister receives them. But today, PM Modi himself went to the airport. Something he does only for leaders India considers exceptionally important. And he didn't just greet Russian President Vladimir Putin, he welcomed him with a grand, unapologetic, high-visibility embrace at a time when the US and Europe are pressuring India to weaken ties with Moscow and reduce Russian oil imports. Then Modi posted a tweet that said it all: "Delighted to welcome my friend President Putin to India. Looking forward to our interactions. The India-Russia friendship is time-tested and has greatly benefited our people." And not just that. Both leaders drove away in the same car, sending a crystal-clear message across Washington, Brussels, and even Beijing. India-Russia relations are not shrinking. They're hitting a new peak. Why Putin's visit matters so much, and Putin didn't come alone. A massive Russia-India business forum is underway. Multiple Russian ministers are in India. Even Russia's defense minister is in Delhi for high-level talks. India's Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal said something that resonated with millions of Indians. When an Indian hears the word Russia, the first thought is a friend in happiness and a friend in sorrow. In Indian culture, a true friend isn't the one who stands with you when everything is great. A true friend is the one who stands with you during a crisis. And historically, India and Russia's long-term interests have aligned again and again, especially during difficult moments. That's why this relationship has survived for decades. What does Russia gain from this summit? A lot. India is one of Russia's largest buyers of oil, weapons, and fertilizers. Russia gets to send a strong message to the West. We are not isolated. Look at our ties with India. Putin already showcased his warm welcome in China. Now he's showcasing the same in India, two giant economies. Western geopolitical analysts have absolutely noticed this. But here's the twist. The Western media got caught spreading fake news. Some Western outlets published a claim that Russia was giving India a new nuclear attack submarine under a fresh multi-billion-dollar deal. It started with Bloomberg. Indian outlets copied it without verifying. YouTubers repeated it. But India's PIB, Press Information Bureau, fact-checked it. No new submarine deal has been signed. The only submarine lease agreement is an OLD one from 2019, delayed for years. This is why you should follow real facts, not clickbait headlines. More Western narratives being pushed. Certain sections of Western media are trying to portray India's defense talks with Russia as some kind of betrayal of the US. But that's not how geopolitics works. Nations don't choose friends. They choose interests. India-Russia trade problem, the elephant in the room. India-Russia trade has hit $68 billion, but it's extremely one-sided. India exports only $5 billion worth of goods to Russia, mostly medicines, chemicals, iron, steel. India imports $63 billion worth from Russia. That's not trade, that's pure dependence. Russia says they will try to buy more from India, but we'll see how that develops. Russia's parliament has already ratified the deal, but India, interestingly, has stayed silent. RELOS, reciprocal exchange of logistics support, would allow Russian warships to use Indian naval bases, Russian aircraft to use Indian air bases, joint operational support. India has signed similar agreements with the US, France, Australia, Korea, and others. But with Russia, New Delhi is moving very cautiously. We'll have to wait and see if it gets signed during this visit. What will be the biggest focus of this visit? Not weapons, not submarines, not S-400s. Energy cooperation, Russia supplies oil co-fertilizers and possibly wants to supply uranium, especially since India is exploring a uranium deal with Canada. What about defense? Russia's share in India's defense imports has fallen from 72%, just 36%. India now buys heavily from the US, Israel, France. That's why Putin is trying to rebuild momentum. Will India buy more S-400 systems? Nothing final yet. As the world witnesses this high-stakes geopolitical moment, one thing becomes crystal clear. India isn't playing defense anymore. India is shaping the game. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi's actions during Vladimir Putin's visit weren't just symbolic. They were strategic, deliberate, and exceptionally calculated to send a message to every major capital on the planet. India chooses India, not Washington, not Brussels, not Beijing, and not Moscow either. India chooses its own national interests first. Now, if you're watching this from the United States, you need to understand this. For decades, the US has been comfortable playing big brother in global geopolitics. But today, that era is fading. The world is shifting to multipolarity, and India is emerging as the linchpin in that shift. And Modi knows it. When Modi shows up at the airport personally to receive the Russian president, he isn't just breaking protocol. He's breaking the illusion that the United States can pressure India through sanctions, tariffs, or diplomatic guilt-tripping. Washington has been telling New Delhi for years, reduce Russian oil imports, slow down defense purchases, move away from Moscow, follow the Western rules-based order. But India's response is now loud and clear. Thanks for your advice, but we'll do what's best for us. Because the US, especially under previous administrations, made one catastrophic miscalculation. They believed India had no alternative. But here's the truth. India has options, more than ever. And both Russia and the US know it. When Modi tweeted, "Delighted to welcome my friend President Putin," that wasn't a diplomatic formality, it was a geopolitical statement. A statement meant for Western policymakers, analysts, and think tanks. India will not be arm-twisted. India will not be dictated to. India will not be guilted into abandoning strategic partners. Section 2. Putin's grand entry and what it symbolized. Putin landing in India right now, at a time when Russia is under massive US and EU pressure, isn't just a diplomatic visit. It's a strategic show of strength, and Modi welcoming him personally, walking alongside him, riding in the same vehicle, it's all meticulously choreographed. This image sends a triple-layer geopolitical message. 1. To Europe, you failed to isolate Russia. They are shaking hands with the world's fastest-growing major economy. 2. To the US. Don't confuse alignment with alliance. India isn't dependent on you. 3. To China. We will work with Russia, but not at your mercy. India chooses balance, not subservience. Western analysts noticed this immediately. In fact, several US think tanks have labeled Putin's India visit as a geopolitical shockwave that undermines Western sanctions, because the West has been trying to project Russia as isolated. But here's Putin, being welcomed like royalty in India, the country that will soon be the world's third largest economy. That's not isolation, that's influence. Russia desperately needs powerful economic partners right now, and India is a massive buyer of Russian oil, a major market for Russian weapons, a huge importer of Russian fertilizers, a rising power Russia cannot afford to lose. But beyond economics, Russia gets something far more valuable: legitimacy. Because when the world sees Putin welcomed in New Delhi, not in secret, but with open arms, it destroys the narrative that Russia is a global outcast. Russia gains a political win, an economic partner, a diplomatic boost, a narrative victory. And Putin, being the world-class opportunist he is, knows exactly how to capitalize on this moment.